everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Superpowers. I'm Dawn, and this is Karen, and today we are bringing an amazing episode to you where I'm very excited.
Today's guest is joining us via Zoom, and it's Michael Philpott. And Michael is a Reiki Master, a psychic, a medium, a podcast creator, and so much more. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on your show today.
Well, we're so happy to have you. I'd love to hear more about your story because I have a feeling we might be similar. So how did you come into becoming a Reiki Master and a Metaphysical Mentor?
Well, the main thing is with the Reiki, it kind of found me. That's how I like to think. I was kind of struggling through life, trying to figure out what my purpose was, what things happened. And I just happened to be at a chapters one day, and I'm just picking up books, and I sat down beside me, and I looked down at the other side, and there was just this book sitting there. And I was like, Reiki, what's this? So I just picked it up and I started reading it, and it made so much sense to me. It's like, wow, okay, I know this. And then I was at basically a health food store, and I was just walking out. They had this little advertisement, take your Reiki level 1. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, okay. So I called this woman, and she says, yeah, come on in. And that was kind of how I found Reiki. And that was probably 18 years ago when I found it. Now, that being said, it was just so amazing what happened, and just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah.
Very, very cool. And so where did it lead you? Like what was
basically what happened was I really I found it really interesting, and it was really something I was really looking for. So actually I had a clinical practice. I happened to know a chiropractor that was looking for something different to add to her practice. And she asked me if I wanted to be one of the practicing Reiki therapists in the clinic. And that's where everything kind of really changed. Like everything started getting really freaky. So that's when my superpower spiritual gifts really kind of opened up. It was after my level 1. And then once I reached my master level, it just opened the door. And yeah, that's when the craziness happened.
I understand that you train medical professionals to become more intuitive and maybe even develop their skills so that they can become medical mediums. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that just happened just recently. It was, again, synchronistic events. Just, I was at a dinner party, and there was a bunch of holistic practitioners there. And there was a few people who were psychics, and we're all talking. And one of the ladies approached me. She says, I got this practice I have. I'm a TCM practitioner, and I've always wanted to become a medical medium, but I just don't know how to figure out how to do it. So I just said, I'd be willing to come in and help you out and figure it all out here. And I thought that should be fun. And next thing I know, it just took off, and it's absolutely been amazing. The level of gifts that these people have that they haven't tuned into is just absolutely incredible. And that just kind of snowballed. And then once one person heard about it, and now it's just, I got a lot of students now. This is something that's really kind of under the radar. It's not something that's talked about even in the alternative versions, like, traditional Chinese medicine. It is not really talked about, naturopathic. They're kind of, from the understanding from the students I talk to, they're actually moving away from that type of energetic or vibrational medicine. They're trying to get away from homeopathy and trying to go more mainstream. And they're craving this because all their gifts are opening up. These young people have all these amazing gifts, and they don't know what to do with it. So now it's just basically channeling their gifts, and for the very specific role that they're doing, whether it's a naturopathic or a TCM, they seem to be the best. Eventually, I would love to get into allopathic, but we'll kind of wait on that. But that was kind of, how it kind of really started.
That's really exciting, because I just think about my own healthcare professionals that I use. And if they were able to tap into their own intuitive skills, I just think, how amazing would that be? To not only be able to, treat me better, but I mean, it would just expand their own lives as well.
Exactly. That was kind of the whole reason. That's kind of the vision. That's like I always say, what if your doctor could diagnose you before you actually anything happened to you? You walk in, you say, oh, I got this ache, I got this pain. And he's or she is in this zone already. They're into that high vibration. They're picking up that information, and they're going to say, you know what? I think we should get you into a CAT scan here. Let me go do this right now. I don't know why, but I think I'm going to do this. And they have that, again, it's an additional tool for them. They have all the great science. They have the CAT scans, the blood work, all that great stuff. But if they're not really looking for something specific, they can miss it altogether. And that happens so often. I've been misdiagnosed, very tragically almost. Like, I mean, it was very, very scary for me years ago. But I've seen that and I've heard stories, people, especially, I hate to say this word, but the C word anyways, cancer is one of those things that it is something that it gets misdiagnosed or gets missed. And then a few months later, all of a sudden, bang, it's spreading all over the body. Now we got to play catch up. Now, if let's say your GP, again, what if your GP, your family doctor, your gynecologist, just something that clicked with them says, you know what, or even take it even one step further. What if they're at home and they're sitting there in their dream state, or they're doing something, and he just says, I gotta call my patient. I need to schedule this patient in to have them come in and get some blood work done. And that's the type of thing. That's the potential that we have there. And it's, we all have the ability to do it. It's, it's just really to take that next step and move forward on it.
Yeah. And I had that journey that you just described. As our viewers know, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2019. And when I went in to see my GP, she thought it was something else. So, luckily we were able to figure it out sooner rather than later, but it resonates really well with me. How about you, Dawn?
I've been treating patients for 20 years, and a lot of the times they'll come with a certain diagnosis and it just doesn't feel right. And I'll follow what their body's telling them. And then I might make some suggestions to go back and get some more blood work. And sure enough, if they get the right referral or if they get the right testing done, a lot of times it will come back, not as, Hashimoto's, but as lupus or something like that. Like it's about fine tuning it and finding out exactly what it is. Yeah. So I definitely see it. And it would be nice if we could all do that. Yeah.
So how do you, again, how about that communication level? How do we bridge that gap between the doctors and yourself? If something's going wrong, something's up, but you can't figure it out. That's kind of their job to help figure it out. But again, they're so used to doing 1 + 1 + 1 = this. If something is in the mix of that, they can't figure it out. So I always use the analogy when I talk to the people I work with, is I look at the whole process of it. I say, you're looking at, what is the actual symptoms of it? And we look at it, again, at a holistic approach to it too, as well. And once we start figuring that out, it's really easy for them to start making a diagnosis. And the great thing about it, they're using their intuitive abilities, plus they're using the science behind it. So again, it's that confirmation behind that, which works out really well. Because they go, yeah, maybe it is your blood sugar levels. It is insulin. Let's check you for diabetes. Yeah. And then bang, there you go.
And you know what, in my case, I, don't totally blame my doctor because my symptoms weren't consistent. I think this is a good message for our viewers. If you know that there's something wrong and it's different than what your doctor tells you, be persistent and, keep asking questions. And because obviously it's going to be a while before we get GPs learning how to become medical mediums and that sort of thing. So just, know that your own gut instincts are the best ones to follow. So
like there's absolutely no reason for the way that they're feeling, but they know deep down that there's something off. And yeah, to trust that and to look into it and maybe look outside of, your GP, maybe go to a chiropractor or a physio or a massage therapist or a medical medium. Yeah. Try naturopathic, try lots of different, you have a whole team of people working together for you.
Yeah, I think that's where the trend is going is having a team around you and, have a coalition of people that not just one type of health practitioners, but several type of health practitioners. One of the things I was working with, just to give an example, my TCM practitioner. So they work with TCM, but they don't do a lot of psychological stuff. It's very kind of rigid. It's very like, okay, this is the meridian. This is what goes in. I'll put the needle in here. This is what I'm going. Okay, here's some herbs and where you go. So, but there is so much the mental and emotional aspect behind the disease that they're not picking up. And a classic example, and I'll just share this really briefly. She had a patient come in and traditional back pain, she's going to do some acupuncture and stuff like that. But then she started tuning into her abilities. And she was a little shy, of course, because again, you have to look at the legalities behind it, because it's kind of hard and difficult when you're starting to say, okay, well, this is what I think it is, out of your scope of your practice and your license. So that's kind of where the gray area goes. But she knew that there was a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, and that was affecting the meridians, and this was causing all this different problems, digestive, all this different stuff. And she picked up that this person was actually mourning the loss of a good friend, and that emotion, he's trapped in the body, and he was just holding on to it. And she basically, during the treatment, she says, did you just lose your a really close friend of yours and you're really upset? And then that moment, that trigger released his emotion. He started bawling. He started letting it go. All that emotion, that healing just started happening. And she said the results were absolutely incredible, because when you stick a needle in there, you can actually see how the body reacts, and you can see the dissipation of the energy. And she just said it was like going crazy. But he said it was the best session he ever had. And he needed to do that because she tuned into that. That's what happened.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do you find that a lot of the people that you train come back with great stories like that? Like once they actually, integrate that their little superpower within working in their scope of practice, it catapults them to the next level and gets like such great results.
Yeah, like 100%. Like it's so amazing, but it's even better than that, because they just tap into some stuff that, like, it just baffles me. Like the level of psychic abilities now, like the veil is so thin, and these people are just, I like to call them, again, affectionately call them like my super freaks, because they're just so absolutely amazing. Like it blows me away. Like their abilities to their clairvoyancies to actually look into the body, like they have X-ray eyes, to go into the body, to go into the organ, to see what's happening, to see the chemistry. And then they're dealing with all these other like high vibrational beings that are helping us. There's so many, like it's crazy. Like literally, it's absolutely been nutty. Like
I'm kind of curious, going into this type of work, it takes a certain amount of courage. What are your students like when they come to you? Are they a little shy, like, oh, I would like to, or are they really like gung-ho and open to, spirituality or metaphysical or supernatural? Like what are the people that are coming to you, and what's it like for them to study and then go out into their practice?
It's almost like they won the lottery. They finally, it's like this freedom. Like it's like this freedom. Like there's, I just trained this one person this weekend, and she tells me, like, she keeps calling me. It's like funny. She's harassing me. It's like, I love her to death, but it's like, she kept calling me. She says, it feels like I'm starting my whole life over again. Like this has been me the whole time. Like, I can't believe it took me so long to figure this out. It's always about getting the right people, team. So naturopathic is not the person you want to see for mental emotional issues. They can help you release it. But again, if it is a psychological trauma or emotional trauma that you're looking for, you have to have a psychotherapist or some type of person working with that. But if their intuition and if they're picking up that's the actual problem that's causing the physical, they would recommend to go see a particular person. That's why it's amazing to see all these other practitioners developing networks. So my TCM practitioner, now she's got a psychotherapist on call. She's got somebody who's a massage therapist ready to go. And now they can integrate that whole treatment process now, because this is what I'm finding out what's going on. And then they can relay that message to the patient, and then they can make a referral. Say, you need to go see this person here, help with this emotional aspect and this psychological trauma, if that is the case. And so that helps build that process. So now their thinking and feeling starts changing, and that changes the chemistry, and then makes it easier in the health process. And it just snowballs. Like, it means it's this whole integrative process. It's absolutely fantastic.
Actually, that's exactly how my practice is. I work within my scope of practice as a massage therapist, acupuncturist, all that fun stuff. And if there is something that I feel I am not equipped to treat, then I always refer out. And then there's like, we're there for the patient. We're there to serve and help in every way possible. So having that network of like-minded individuals is so helpful. So yeah, I probably refer out, probably 30% at least of the people that come to see me. This week alone, I'm thinking of how many people I referred to a naturopath, psychotherapist, there's so many. Yeah. Cause we need to work together. But but in my practice, it wasn't until, what was it, this last year that I actually came out as a medical intuitive. Up until then, I practiced by listening to the body, which is,
if you think back, I remember you telling me you would get these messages from the body, but you thought that everyone could.
I actually did. Being a massage therapist, we're on our, like, we're feeling the tissue. We're, at least I think we are. I know I am. So I'm assuming too. But yeah, I just thought that what I was picking up was stuff everyone did. So it just, I don't know. I just listened to what the body was telling me, and I was really lucky. I got great results with people. And when, other things like I know you've mentioned it in other interviews, Michael, is the vocabulary, the dictionary we get to have. And, after a while, I finally realized that when I see a pickle, it actually means that there's an electrolyte imbalance. But it took me some time to figure that out. But now I know, like, if that's within something I can do with my nutritional background. But if there's something where, for instance, I had a patient yesterday who is very, as I can take it, very hormonally out of balance, and it's beyond, like, I can do what I can do, but I know that she needs more help. So I've referred her to, to a naturopath, and maybe go back to her doctor and get some blood work done, like that type of thing, because I recognize that that's a little bit beyond. But yeah, these are all things that I thought everyone could do.
That's amazing. I love hearing that. It just means that we're all on the right path in doing this. And it's like you're saying, like, that's part of the process, is developing your own language, your symbols. And that's part of the fun process of figuring out, because a pickle to you, again, talks about electrolytes. To me, a pickle to me could be sour. It could be just eating, associated with junk food, pickles and fries and things like that. So again, it's always figuring out, that's the fun part, because you start learning the language with them. And again, what you may see, I always use the example like pizza, right? So pizza is kind of the classic example, but then you can break down pizza in so many things. Pizza could mean Italian. So if you're seeing a pizza, it could be some connection to Italy. Pizza could mean something towards junk food, eating that. If you take it even a little further, so this is where I explore with my patient or my students, is that we take it a little bit further. So if you take the pizza, okay, what's really sticking out? Is it the cheese? Is it gooing? Is it moving down there? So then is it a dairy issue there? So again, whatever kind of sticks out the most, you kind of tune into that, and that helps formulates that. But it's really cool that you're doing this. And I'm so excited for you to keep doing this. Like, I just love hearing that. So I'm going to be like your biggest fan. Like, go see Dawn.
Thank you. But it's so much fun. And I remember one of my favorite examples is not so much, well, the language, yes, like seeing an avocado and seeing an egg, but even the way that you're perceiving it, like you mentioned with the cheese. I had a patient and I was working on her abdomen, and I love avocados. Just like that. Like, I love avocados. And then later on, like, it was her first time seeing me. And later on, I get eggs, repeating, like, in such an annoying way. And I said, do you like avocados? She goes, oh, I love avocados. And I'm like, okay. And do you eat a lot of eggs? She goes, yes, I do. And I'm like, how do you normally feel when you eat eggs? And she goes, I don't know. And I go, well, why don't you pay attention and maybe try cutting them out and see how you feel? And sure enough, the next time she came, she had cut them out, and she couldn't believe how much better she was feeling. Like, it's so cool to develop those ways of interpreting how the body is communicating.
Yeah. Well, and getting back to something else that you said earlier about emotional issues kind of creating physical issues in the body. We have an episode coming up on that, don't we, Dawn?
Mm-hmm.
And it really is I think, an area that needs to be explored more.
My perspective, from what I've seen and treated and stuff like that, and what's happening, 80% of a lot of the cases that I've known have been emotional based stuff. It's just trapped energy in the body from some type of trauma. That's that. I mean, you and being a body worker, Dawn, like the issues in the tissues that they say, right? Like, it's there, right? And once you start feeling around and you get that release, but again, it's that trapped emotion. And the thing is, Dawn, she can be the best therapist in the world. She's digging away in there. And 2 months later, they come back, have the same problem again. It's just that recycle, because it's the same thinking and feeling that causing that reaction all the time. And unless that emotion is released, it just keeps cycling back. And then hence dis-ease.
Michael, you have a podcast, and it's so funny. We talked about this a little bit earlier, how Don and I were called to do this YouTube channel back in the fall, and you were just kind of called to do this podcast called the Metaphysical Mentor, I believe. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was kind of a combination of all the years of doing readings, and just getting the information out there. So when I did readings, they were kind of based on what we call life readings. So we looked at the whole body, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual levels, and tried to figure out what was going on. And it was tough to just get on one-on-one to get the people to, if you give them the information, a lot of times they wouldn't do anything with it. And it was always so frustrating. And on a larger scale, it's like, if I can just get the information out there, something may stick. Because a lot of the people I have on my show, they're very, very target specific to a lot of the same information that I get through my readings. So for example, I just had a chiropractor on. So again, chiropractics is something a lot of people don't think about as far as overall holistic treatments. A lot of people talk about chiropractics as they're quacks, they're doctor. I mean, a lot of different things. But through my scope of my readings, chiropractic has been one of the things that's been recommended through the readings for so many different elements and stuff like that. So that's just one example. Another one was supplements too as well. So again, I had a naturopathic doctor on talk about her supplements and talk about the difference in types of supplements. Because again, supplementation was a big thing. Obviously, that Don with nutrition background, supplementation is something that's important if we're not getting the nutrients out of our diets, which most of us aren't. So it was really providing that information, and a lot of the readings are also too was inspirational. It was like kind of like I was their cheerleader, and because people came to me at a very low point in their life, and I wanted to inspire them. And it wasn't really me that was doing it. I was just being a message for spirit. It was basically spirit working through me and saying, listen, you are absolutely so loved. You have no idea. And I wanted to let them know that this was spirit coming through them saying, the stuff that you're capable of doing, you have no idea. You're absolutely so powerful, so loving, so kind. And if you can just tap into that, and if you do this, what part of the readings were like, start changing your diet, start doing these small little things, it builds that confidence and their brightness and their energy and that smile. Because I always wanted to make sure when somebody leaves my reading that they had a smile on their face. I don't want them in tears. I want tears of joy. And so that was part of the podcast, is to bring these people. So myself, I'm not the metaphysical mentor. It's the people who I have on are the metaphysical mentors. And the idea with metaphysical is, what is metaphysical? It's something that's beyond the physical. But what's beyond the physical? Knowledge and information. So it's a play on words a bit. But if it's the people who I have on, it's their stories and it's their information and their abilities. And that's the whole story about it. Like, that's the whole reason I still get up and try to do this crazy podcast and do it.
And Don, you and I, we talked about that was a similar goal with our YouTube channel. There's so many great, intuitive people with spiritual superpowers, around, and we just want to share that with everyone and, just spread the word.
Very grateful for the platform that you ladies have developed too as well, because it gives me an opportunity to talk about all the things I love to do too as well. Mm-hmm. And I know, Karen, you talked about it just briefly. It's about building a community, right? And I think it's really important because there's a lot of changes happening in the world, and we all kind of get together. We're all trying to get to the same place. We're trying to get more joy, happiness, and just, overall satisfaction in life. And we want to do it with grace and love and just this enjoyment. And I think just developing this type of community that you guys are doing is fantastic. So again, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. That was great information, and I hope our viewers, find out more about your podcast and all the things that you do. We'll include some information in the description box below with websites and emails and all that sort of thing, so that they can find you.
Yeah, Michael, this was so wonderful. I'm so glad I got to meet you and talk to you. And I'm so excited for our viewers to get to know you too and start listening to the podcast. And there's just such, it sounds like you're giving such great information. I'm enjoying listening to it, and I know I'm going to continue to. And I'm grateful for you being on here today.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. Like I'm starting to blush now. I was like, I don't get these compliments too often.
Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like us. And also, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. And so we look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.